Today we're going to be installing a backup camera on this 2013 Chevrolet Silverado. So it's a all-in-one unit, and the way we're going to do it is we're going to basically punch in a hole. The emergency brake comes in, we're going to punch a hole in there with a knife, we're going to route the camera down this way, and we're going to use a bunch of zip ties and follow this big plastic cable all the way down to the back. So first things first, let's punch that hole and get the wire routed from the top. So the camera is going to get power right there. We're going to route this around the cables, and of course then we have these, which are going to connect up to the screen right here, and then this cable back here is going to go all the way to the rear. Alright, we got spare fuses right here, and we're going to see if maybe we could just route this inside here. And as we're routing this, let's go ahead and grab this piece and this piece, which I think we just use this pry tool and shimmy around, making sure to not put too much pressure on one end. Looks like it's all one piece, so does this just pull straight out maybe? Oh, there we go, that disconnected there. Let's try to, of course, pull this off without, when we pop the hood. I think this should just pop off. Like that. Perfect. So now with those two pieces in, we're going to stuff this in here, but then also we pull up this cable, then we pull up this, there's that grommet, so we're going to make a little hole in there, and that's where we're going to route this cable. So for the power cable, what I did is I went ahead and routed it right through here, and you can just grab it from behind. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this around the OBD2 sensor, stuff it up in here, probably route it like through this hole, and then have it to where all of these big cables connects in here. So the only cable going to the back is this one wire for the camera. So there's our cable stuffed in. Now we're just going to put this back on. Make sure it's all pinched together. We want to make sure this is, of course, coming out the back. And we'll fix that back part, but then there we go. There's the top part. Now let's work on the bottom part. There we go. We'll do it in a star pattern. Careful not to touch the wire. Putting the blunt side toward the wire. And now we just might need to make it a little bigger. We are going to have to push this big end through. So we've pulled all the wire through, so now we need to just slide this piece on. I'm just gonna make sure that that wire does not this open. And we have to move the rubber because it's getting caught on that rubber right there. Let's see. See how those clips align? There you go. Push that in right there. Make sure that's not being pinched. Look at that. Perfect. I'm not going to record all of it, but basically what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be routing it down this plastic wire right here. So we got the cable routed. The only time it gets a little complicated, and actually I was able to get underneath it all with the creeper, no issue, is right here. This is where it gets a little complicated because you've got to route it sort of up and past on the other side, which isn't too difficult, but then it's got to go down on the other side. And then from there, it's just a little tricky because you've got to deal with all the suspension components. It's not impossible, but once you've gotten that done, I've got the cable coming out basically right here. And now what I'm gonna go ahead and do is get it plugged in. Of course, I'm gonna route it through there. I'm gonna get the backup camera installed and get it all tidied up. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and stick this on. We're gonna stick on the backup or the plate. Is this probably unnecessary? Yeah, but I figured since it's not necessarily trying to protect it against water, but just against dirt, it's at least better than nothing. So I'm just gonna pull this up here. Okay, so there's my extra wire. There's my camera wires, which goes up to the camera over there. And I'll just give you sort of an idea of how I routed it. I didn't cut any of the zip ties because it's a work truck. Who really cares? Basically, I just follow that big wire underneath. So now comes the moment of truth. Let's go ahead and turn on accessory, turn on the backup camera, and look at that. So that is how I installed a backup camera and routed it on a 2012 Chevrolet Silverado. Thanks for tuning in to Karkin, and we'll see you next time.